So you could have that confusion of coming back to the B major chord, right? And then start on it again in the next loop. End, beginning, right? So you actually would have, if you count the last two B majors of the first loop, going on to the beginning of the next loop, you have three B major chords in a row. However, the first B major is the beginning of the loop, and at the end of the loop, you're going to always have two B major chords. So you repeat that, I believe, 4 times, and then you have this section A. And then it changes a little bit the second time around. So you have an E major, right? So you have B, E, G sharp. Then you extend your index finger to grab the sixth string, you grab a G sharp. And then you have quarter note triplets. It's got that lazy feeling of a triplet, right? Right? But inside, in between the second and third triplet, you have an A major chord. 2 grabs the C sharp on the 6th fret. Right, so slowly. And the second time, the triplets happen a little bit earlier. Right, so they happen on the E major chord under a G sharp bass, right, which is just the first inversion. Right, now it's also worth noticing that you have some staccato markings in there, right? So you have measure 11. Right, so you really want to make those basses short, right? And then you repeat this whole business, right? And then you change to section B where you have lost all your sharps. You started, remember, with 4 sharps, right? So you're in the key of E major. Now it's completely different. It feels like you're in a modal C major of sorts, right? So it's really important to count your eighth notes here, right? So on the slower side, 1, right? 1, 2, and 3, 4, right? And you have mutes in there, right? So you have this minor chord, so that kind of like an E minor chord over a D bass, right? 1, right? So slowly, 1, 1, so this whole thing repeats. So very slowly, we start on C major. Then you have that E minor over a D bass on the end of 1. So you have 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and then over here you get into kind of like a B7 chord. 1, 2. Right? So you play the chord on beat 2, 1, 2, and 3. Right, so on 4, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, that's very interesting thing on interesting on that E minor chord of sort 1, 1. Right, so you're just holding the E, the G here in the first string on the E string. And you have that B here, but that happens on the end of 1. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, going back to what you already know, which is what we did earlier, right? So on C, you have that E major chord, fourth position bar, 2 grabs the E, and then you have a return to the first set of chords. But then you have a change on the last two measures of this. That would be the last 3 or 4, is it? Yeah, on measure 43, instead of starting the sequence like you did before, you're going to start with E major chord twice. Right? So that changes on beat 4. Right? And then you move yourself, right, to I guess a G sharp minor chord. Right? So starting here, measure 43, fourth position. You can make a bar if you want, might make it easier. Right? Then you have, this is 7th position, D sharp, G sharp, B, right? And then you have everything lined up, right? You have an E, you have a G sharp, and you have a high C, C sharp, right? So, and then the same formation of chord, the same minor formation, but F sharp minor. This time you're on the 5th position. And unfortunately, you do not do exactly the same thing that you did before, right? So that'd be nice, isn't it? Wouldn't it? So you're here, and then you have a D sharp, F sharp, B, right? And then not that easy, right? So nice and slow on those chords. This is measure 43, 2 E major chords, still E major, different position, right? Then change to 7th position, 2, 3, 1. Line everything up here on the 9th fret, 5th position, 2, 3, 1 again. 2 is your right finger, right? D sharp, F sharp, and B, and then you get to your E major chord, right? So get that F sharp minor chord, and then that B major chord that we did at the beginning, and then same chord but inverted, right? So it's D sharp, F sharp, and B. So B major here, B major here. I know it doesn't look like it's the same chord, but it is. It's just what we call inversions. A little bit faster on 43. And this will take you over to section D. In section D, it's best to actually learn things by the index finger, right? So you start out here with your C sharp, right? Eventually you're going to work on your pinky being there, but first just practice getting the index finger. Right? Now, if you had your pinky there already in place, notice where you put your index finger next. It's the same fret that your pinky is there. Your pinky is at. Your pinky always 2 frets away, 3rd string, 1st string. Right? But again, we're only training the index finger. And then you play that note again and you slide up. You slide up all the way to the 13th fret for the G sharp, right? And you come right back to that E. And then he puts triplets in there, right? Right, it's really a lot of fun. So if you just practice that, right? And then you add your pinky to do the octaves. Something that I didn't do that it would have been helpful for me to do when you get to the higher notes on the fretboard. I'm sorry that the computer is not getting everything in there. Maybe this way. overshot with my index, but why did I get sound out of my pinky the second time around? I actually pressed harder on the landing of my slide. Right? So that way, if you press harder on the landing, you're definitely going to get sound. So that takes you through the first, I don't know, first two measures of this. And then you run all the way back to the second position, right? And then it's almost the same. At the very end, you're in the fourth position for the B. So the first time you came back was the second position for the A, now B. So, and that's pretty much the whole cycle. You repeat that, right? So you're right there in sixth position, ninth position, 13th, right back to ninth or karate chop position, right? And then back, second position, ninth position, right back here to eighth position. You just slightly go back up ninth and then 11th position, and then the fourth position, and then you do the whole loop up. Right, and once you return that, he makes you do that a few times. Then you're back on E, and it's not new material. It's something that you've done before, right? Page turn. And then you have section F, which is exactly the same as the second section of the piece, section B, but if you had lower strings, that's what you would be reading. But it's pretty much the section that we read on B. Back at this section, you find yourself with section G, not near, right? Then you're supposed to repeat from there. Measure 93 seems to have a lost repeat. It looks like it might want you to go to the very beginning of the piece, although there are repeats before that. So hard to tell. What we do know is that you are back. At the very end, you find yourself doing that sequence of chords, right? You start with a B major, you move on to E major, fourth position, E major in first, back to fourth, then A major, E major in fourth, two B majors, B major to start,